Korean cars have seen one of the biggest rises in popularity in the last decade, from being cheap cars that were laughed at to being genuine contenders with premium German brands. Their rise is incredible. With electrification seeming inevitable, the Koreans have got a head start, producing some of the most exciting EVs to date, with some pretty special concepts in the works. This is the story of South Korea in the car world and their possible dominance in the next few years. Kia, which can be translated as rising from Asia, was founded in 1944 as a manufacturer of steel tubing and bicycle components. They then built motorbikes and then master licensed trucks and cars. They were forced to make only military vehicles between 1981 and 1986. After this, they continued making rebadged models due to a partnership with Ford, as they also made models based on Mazdas. They would move into the USA in 1992, and a year later they launched the Sportage, which will appear later in the story. In 1998, Hyundai Motor Company reached an agreement to exchange ownership between the two companies. Hyundai now own around a third of Kia, whilst Kia still has ownership in some of Hyundai's subsidiaries. Speaking of Hyundai, they were formed in 1967 as a part of a larger Hyundai group, which is in many industries, from hotels to shipbuilding. Their version of a Ford Cortina was released the following year due to a partnership with the brand. The company would go on to make history with the Pony, launched in 1975, being the first ever South Korean car. Similarly to Kia, Hyundai would assemble knockdown kits for Ford. Hyundai would begin selling cars in the USA in 1986. Now they are the third largest car maker in the world, with two sub-brands, Ioniq and Genesis. These Korean brands have sold incredibly well in Asian countries, but they wanted to move into Western markets, and they began in the US. However, they initially were seen as cheap and unreliable, as well as a joke, with Hyundai being said to stand for "Hope you understand nothing's drivable and inexpensive." However, Hyundai worked to change that by including warranties and investing in the durability of their models. They opened a plant in Alabama, which cost $1.7 billion. They came second in the J.D. Power Initial Brand Quality Survey in 2004 alongside Honda, and only losing to Toyota. They also moved into Europe in 1994 when they opened a centre in Frankfurt. They opened a plant in the Czech Republic at a cost of €1 billion. Kia began in America in 1992 and sales began in 1993, the Sportage being the notable model in the lineup. They had a relatively good reputation in America, with a good reliability record. The company also moved into Europe a year before they crossed the Atlantic. They only sold the Pride, which sold quite poorly, although they had to establish themselves in this new market. The Sportage arrived in 1995, with the Sorento following in 2002. British sales were decreasing despite a larger lineup, and in 1998, Kia sold less than 3,000 cars in the country. Kia sold cheap cars similarly to Hyundai, and also invested heavily as they opened a plant in Georgia in the USA in 2009 and the European plant in Slovakia in 2006, which cost them €1.7 billion. The rise of these two brands is incredible, but it was due to a good strategy and the move towards crossovers and SUVs. The two companies knew that it would need serious investment to draw people away from more established brands, but this is what they did. Investing billions in factories in different continents was a risk, but it reduced the costs of production, which could be passed on to consumers. They were brought in the masses with more affordable cars, whilst developing more luxurious models. Their success can be mainly attributed to SUVs, through which catapulted them to the powerhouses we know today. The first Sportage went on sale in 1993 on the Mazda Bongo chassis. European sales began in 1995 when production commenced in Germany. Interestingly, it was available as a 3-door soft-top convertible, or the Grand model, which was longer despite having the same wheelbase. The second generation was one of the first examples of the two Korean companies working together. The Sportage shared a platform with the Hyundai Tucson. The quality was better, with more reliability, although it was considered to be unsafe. The third generation was a big step up, as it topped the J.D. Power survey and won Car of the Year as well as being given an impressive safety rating in the US. The next generation was similar, with a revised interior and exterior design. The current model features plug-in hybrid, and mild hybrid options as the Sportage looks to transition into the EV world. The Sportage is Kia's best-selling model, as they have sold 5 million worldwide by 2021 and exceeded 500,000 sales in 2016. Hyundai's first SUV, the Santa Fe, was launched in 2000 with a range of inline 4s and V6s. It was sold in China under the Hyundai name. The second generation began production in 2006 with a similar range of engines. It was safer with ESC, side curtain airbags and ABS as standard. Despite this, Hyundai had to recall 200,000 Santa Fe's due to problems with front passenger airbags not deploying in crashes. The third generation had a long wheelbase version as well, but the main changes were to the styling of the vehicle. The current generation is longer, although the long wheelbase model is no longer available. It was a facelift for the 2021 model year. Sales of the Santa Fe have been consistently strong in the US, with over 119,000 being sold last year, though less than 10,000 were sold in Europe in 2021. In 2002, production began of the new Kia Sorento, which sat above the Sportage as a larger, more luxurious SUV. It had a similar range of engines to the Sportage, and like the first generation of that, had genuine off-road capability. It had keyless entry and wood in the interior as standard, with options such as a security system and a sunroof. The 2007 facelift saw improved safety features. The second generation was the first model to be produced in Kia's new factory in Georgia. The design was changed to match the rest of Kia's lineup, and a facelift in 2014 saw a design made to match the Optima and a new instrument cluster. The third generation was longer but lower than the previous one. The facelift in 2018 introduced new driver safety features. The current generation has seen the introduction of hybrids to the Sorento. The new Sorento has been praised and is seen as one of the best 7-seaters at the moment. It has sold relatively well for Kia, with sales consistently over or around 100,000 a year in the US, though these have dropped off over the last few years. Hyundai's most popular model, the Tucson, began production in 2004 on the same platform as the second generation Sportage. Hyundai experimented with the Tucson, using it to test a hydrogen fuel cell in 2005, which was part of the development for the hydrogen fuel cell they would later use in the Nexo. The second generation Tucson launched in 2009 and was known as the iX35 in some markets. It had better fuel efficiency and safety, as well as a higher power output. These changes cost around $225 million to develop. Received a facelift in 2013 with new lights and a redesigned front end. The third generation was announced in 2015 with the iX35 name scrapped. It had new technologies such as lane departure warning, blind spot detection, and automatic braking for other cars and pedestrians. The facelift came in 2018 with a new grille and a new display inside. The fourth generation came in 2020 with a new grille and new lights, part of the more angular look. It is also the first Tucson to offer hybrid models with a choice of two petrol hybrids and a plug-in hybrid. It has sold incredibly well for Hyundai, with over 325,000 sales in the US and Europe last year. Another important crossover for Hyundai is the Kona, which began production in 2017. It was the smallest crossover in the Hyundai lineup until 2019. It was built on the B segment platform, which is derived from the i30 platform. It initially came with a choice of petrol, diesel and hybrid powertrains, but from 2018 an electric model was offered, with a choice of a 39 or 64 kWh battery. In 2021, this was the 6th best-selling EV in the UK, due to urban use being heavily considered during its development. There was a facelift in 2020, but little changed apart from the design. The second generation Kona was revealed in December with a choice of petrol, hybrid and electric options. The two Kona models have sold pretty well and shown the adaptability of the platform to be able to support the different powertrains. Another popular Korean crossover is the Kia Niro, which was introduced in 2016. It had autonomous braking and lane departure warning as part of the two brands' efforts to be known for safety. A plug-in version was offered from 2017 with an electric model on sale from 2018. The 2019 facelift included slightly different bumpers. The second generation was launched in 2021 with an all-new design and eco-friendly interior. Again, it featured hybrid and electric options. The Nero, like the Kona, has sold well despite not being groundbreaking, with nearly 150,000 sales across Europe and the USA last year. The story of Hyundai's N division dates back to 2007 when a Schumann Motorsport Hyundai Coupe competed in 24 hours of the Nürburgring, winning the SP4 class. This caught the eye of the brand and they decided to start making high-performance vehicles. They started in motorsport, competing in the World Rally Championship with the i20 WRC car competing in 2014. The N sub-brand was revealed in September 2014, although it would take until 2017 for the first production model to go on sale. This was the i30N, a performance-oriented version of the sensible hatchback. It was followed by the Veloster N, which was targeted at Asia. The i20N is designed to be a cheaper alternative to the larger, more powerful i30N, was revealed in 2020. The first ever N Day took place in 2021, which saw the announcement of N versions of the Kona and the Elantra. Alongside the N models, there is a range of N-line models which have performance and styling upgrades but use the same powertrains as the standard versions. Hyundai's luxury brand Genesis can be traced back to the Hyundai Genesis, which launched in 2008. It became a standalone brand due to the model's popularity. The first model, the G90, is the company's flagship vehicle and was launched in 2015. Genesis moved into the US market in 2016 alongside the release of the G80, another executive saloon. A compact saloon began production in 2017, followed by their first SUVs, the GV70 and GV80, in 2020. Genesis launched in Europe in 2021 alongside a shooting brake version of the G70. Their first two EVs, the electrified G80 and the GV60, launched with an electrified G60, arriving in 2022. Hyundai's most relevant sub-brand is probably Ioniq. Like Genesis, the name stems from a previous Hyundai, which was sold as a hybrid, plug-in hybrid and an EV. Now the name is used for Hyundai's purpose-built EVs. Currently, there are just two, the Ioniq 5 a crossover and the Ioniq 6 a saloon. These have been received incredibly well, and these two models have won the last two Car of the Year awards. The future looks bright for all three brands, with plenty of interesting EVs on the horizon. Ioniq 6s will become more common, and the Ioniq 5N is due to be revealed shortly, as it is in the final stages of testing, which has seen it be taken to the Nürburgring. The Ioniq 7 is due to be released next year and will be a larger crossover. The Kia EV9 is a larger crossover as well and could be similar to the Ioniq 7, similarly to the way that Ioniq 5 and the EV6 are very alike. An EV5 concept has also been shown, and it has a panoramic sunroof that doubles as a solar panel. Genesis have teased the X, which may be put into production due to the positive reaction to it. It is a high-performance electric GT car in either a convertible or a coupe. The GV80 coupe, which was shown off earlier this year, is confirmed to go into production. Finally, the most exciting concept cars were revealed last year. They include the Hyundai Envision 74, a hybrid hydrogen drift car with styling based on the Hyundai Pony. Alongside it was the RN22E, which is based on the Ioniq 6. It has torque vectoring, which provides power to each wheel, allowing the car to be used for drifting. Neither of these concepts have been confirmed to go into production, with Hyundai actively shutting down reports that the Envision 74 will be on sale from next year, although both have massively excited the car community. The possibility of exciting new cars didn't stop there, as Hyundai have been testing hydrogen fuel cell technology since the early 2000s and released the Nexo in 2018. There is a possibility for more fuel cell cars from Hyundai in the future, and they could provide an interesting alternative to EVs. The two brands have become massive names in the car industry over the last decade, and have gone from being thought of as cheap and gimmicky to competing with established brands with long histories. They may have been helped by the rise of SUVs, but they invested heavily and actively made the changes that consumers wanted, which has given them great brand loyalty and helped them move into new sectors of the automotive industry. Their new striking designs and ambitious concept cars show that they're looking to further cement their positions by making distinctive cars. The fact they have been somewhat embraced by the petrolhead community is impressive, as they have people excited for the future, with EVs that definitely can't be described as generic. And with German brands being slow to adapt to electrification and not making affordable EVs for the masses, this could be just the start of the Korean takeover.